pronounce your name, please correct me because I will not get it right if you don't tell me I'm wrong. So with that, Senator Banks. President. Senator Calderon Pitchford. Here. Did I get it, Henry? Awesome. Senator Schmidt. Here. Senator Johnson. Here. Senator Mohammed. Senator Shakombi. Here. Did I get it? Yep. Senator Pradhan. Here. Did I get it? Okay. Senator Batari. That's right. Batari. Okay. Awesome. Senator Patel. Here. Senator Schumacher. Here. Senator Malteri. Sorry. I know how to say that. Yeah. Senator Sajal. Here. Senator Soleimani. One more time. We'll try after. Senator Weinzierl. Here. Senator Soma. Here. Senator Bana. Here. Senator Bashal. Here. Senator Cook. Senator Nellis. Here. Senator Karki. Senator Prom. Senator Hoysa. Senator Bessler. Here. Senator Zelmer is no longer a senator. Senator Dickey. Here. And President Omar. Here. Vice President Trenny. Here. Awesome. So with that, today we'll be moving into presentations. We'll be going through the agenda slowly again, just so we keep all getting kind of the gist of it. Today we have a lot of presentations. So to start us off, we have former Senator Bill Landis, who is presenting for us on the Student Basic Needs Committee.
Thank you, Speaker Zelmer. Thanks for welcoming me back into this room. It's been so long. Yeah. 2 whole weeks. So, as some of you are no doubt aware, at the end of the 86th Senate, the Senate established a new committee focusing on student basic needs. That committee has not yet met because it's a brand new committee, and so I've been asked here to explain some of the genesis of why this committee exists and what it might do in the future, what you all may participate in doing in the future, and other students. So you have a handout that's been passed out. This is just a couple of pages of information that will be included in the initial documents for the Student Basic Needs Committee. Speaker Zelmer has the whole report in her inbox, and that will I've been assured that will end up in a folder for the Student Basic Needs Committee, so you can have access to the entire document. I didn't want to print it all out because it's about 17 pages. Don't be scared of it. It's all important stuff. But anyhow, this whole issue came to my attention as a senator because I had a constituent last fall who came to me and told me about a study that he had helped conduct on campus in the spring of 2018. That study was for a sociology and action class, and they measured the incidence of food insecurity on campus. They took a random representative sample, basically sending out emails to students, and from their responses got a statistically significant response that indicated that we have about a 64% incidence of food insecurity on our campus. Now, compare those with some national numbers. The highest published incidence rate of food insecurity on a college campus is 59%, so we're exceeding the highest based on that study. The average rate across the country is 25 to 30%. Food insecurity has been measured on college campuses since about 2005, so it's still relatively new, and there isn't necessarily research out on every university out there. But the numbers are high enough for us to pay attention to them. Now, this wasn't the first. This was a study that helped back up some of the institutional knowledge that we already have. On page 2 of this document, or page 3 of this document that I gave you, there's a list list of approximately, and onto page 4 there, of approximately 20 individuals on campus who will be here next year, who have been working on food insecurity initiatives and housing instability initiatives, emergency grants. These are all people who are already committed to addressing these issues on campus. The idea of the Student Basic Needs Committee and making that an official part of the student government is kind of twofold. The first, and I'm just going to read directly from the charge here, the Student Basic Needs Committee shall be responsible for representing the interests of students experiencing difficulties meeting basic needs. Specific committee activities may include, but not be limited to, identifying and promoting resources for students experiencing food insecurity or housing instability, conducting data collection surveys, and organizing opportunities for students to participate in solutions-oriented projects. In the next section, it talks, the structure of this committee is to involve students as well as staff, faculty, and community partners. The issues of food insecurity and housing instability and other basic needs issues have impacts in the classroom and beyond. For instance, in that same study that I started off talking about, they found that students were suffering in classes. They weren't able to maintain GPAs that they'd been accustomed to, perhaps in high school or before they started experiencing food insecurity. We actually have hard data from our emergency grant program that has been successfully implemented at the school for the last couple of years, that the retention and there's a word that means close to retention, but it's basically like just continuing in school. The retention and graduation rates of students receiving those emergency grants have increased. It's up to about 85% compared to about a high 60% for those who are not receiving those emergency grants. So we're seeing that the students who are having these basic needs issues, when they are being empowered and there are programs and supports in there to help them through these issues, they are staying in school, they are graduating at higher rates, they're having more academic success. And so that's why that this committee is so important, because it goes directly to what we're doing in higher education, what we're supposed to be doing in higher education, and helping students graduate and get a good education. And it's hard to get a good education if you're sitting in class chewing on water because you haven't eaten that day, and you're trying to trick your brain into thinking that you've eaten. And that's real. 1 out of 12 students reported skipping meals for at least a day who responded to this survey in spring 2018. So it's still a really recent survey. Those numbers are pretty accurate and representative of what we have now. I also wanted to be here to take any questions that anyone might have. Is there any?
Yeah, so this is a great learning opportunity. So we don't have name placards right now, but if you guys have any questions for former Senator Landis, please let me know, and you can just put your hand in the middle, and I might have to point because I don't know last names yet. But if you do have any questions or anything that you would like to ask him, now is a great time. And also, Senator Biggs.
How many people responded to the survey? Like, what was the population size of that?
Yeah, it was, I don't want to tell you the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, of course not. Like, ballpark? I won't take it to heart.
Sure. I want to say it was between 600 and 700 students.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Which is fairly typical for a survey of, like an institution of our size.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Just,
Thanks.
Are there any other questions? Now's a great time to ask questions because we have the person who put forth this committee. Do you have any questions? Any more questions? Senator Biggs.
I guess, so obviously you're done with your graduate degree, right? Correct?
I'm moving in 2 weeks.
Yes. So, I guess, what are some things you would like to see, or like, what have you done to kind of carry this out, like to get ready for people to take it over? Like, I know we passed it like 2 weeks ago, but what are some things like that you would like to see happen with this?
Yeah, that's great. So, kind of, I mentioned before that the Student Basic Needs Committee is kind of an organic, natural next step. You'll see in the year in review, the first line in September, there was an unofficial ad hoc committee of staff and faculty who are interested in addressing these issues to just start meeting on an unofficial basis, kind of on their own time. And from that committee, we had some new initiatives. One was an indoor free farmers market that was held in the Union this past spring. We'd never done that before. We distributed 3,500 pounds of produce that day. There are initiatives that have been going on for years in the campus kitchen and in the campus cupboard. We were able to generate some more awareness of some of these resources, both on and near campus, as well as in the Mankato community. There's talk of potentially looking at different transportation routes to help encourage students to be able to access where some of these resources are. But all of these, potential things that could happen in the future, we invited a speaker to campus, Claire Katie, who is with the Center College and University Food Bank Alliance, which is a national organization, and she came to campus and did some public presentations and workshops with us. And in those presentations, we had students, faculty, staff, community partners, and this all happened 2 weeks ago. We had strategy sessions of identifying different initiatives that we might go down. One idea is a swipe out hunger program where students and faculty may potentially be able to donate food meal swipes to students in need. Now, the administration of that kind of a program requires a lot of work and coordination with a lot of different people, including Sodexo and including us as representatives. So having this committee engages the different people and the different constituencies and the groups of people who can have really great ideas. At the end of those 2 days that Claire Katie was on campus, I had many community partners as well as faculty and staff asking, when is the Basic Needs Committee going to start meeting? Because we have this energy and we want to go. We want to move on some of these things that we've been talking about. And I have, maybe you were asking more for specifics, I have pages of notes from those that are included in the report that Speaker Zelmer has. And so the swipes out, that's one thing. Expanding emergency grants, using kind of our retention scholarships in different ways. All these ideas are on the board, and they all require people coordinated together to implement some of these things and figure out who can take ownership of them, and if there are other grants that can be written to generate more money towards some of these initiatives, that can totally be part of the solution as well.
Thank you.
So, President Omar?
For our new senators who are aware of amendment being passed on the 86th Senate, do you mind telling them what members will be making up this committee and what areas of the university they will be coming from? Yeah.
Sure. So membership, again, I'm going to read directly from the charge here. Membership of the committee shall be open to all students, staff, faculty, and community partners. Then there's a section here that's voting membership of the committee that shall consist of 7 members, including 4 students appointed by a student government president, a minimum of 2 of whom serve as senators in the student government. So you need at least 2 of you in this room to serve on this committee. 1 faculty member appointed by the Faculty Association Executive Committee, 1 employee appointed by the Student Affairs Vice President, and 1 member, whether student, employee, or faculty, appointed by the Dean of Institutional Diversity. Now, I just highlighted 7 people. However, once again, this committee is open to everyone, including community partners that are interested in these issues. The idea of a voting membership basically treated that as this is the minimum. These are the 7 people who will definitely be in the room every time there's a meeting. But we want to engage. This could be the largest committee that we have at school. It could be, it could look like a lot of different things with membership.
Vice President Trenny?
On section 2 of the 2018-19 in review, it says in September, the unofficial ad hoc food insecurity initiative. How many people were at that, if you remember?
Yeah, so most of the people who were at that or any of the following meetings are going to be included in this section 3. I don't recall offhand the people who were at that specific meeting, and I don't know necessarily, I may have missed someone because I wasn't at the first one. I was just learning about this issue myself that time. But I did try to identify as many people on campus who I know are working on specific initiatives, and you could reach out to. The only person who isn't going to be here, I found out after I printed this, is Rudy Correa. He's graduating as well, but he did his master's thesis on the impact of food insecurity on student academic success. So he's totally interested in this and has some really solid research that I'm sure if you reached out to him, he would still be more than willing to point you in the right direction with some things. But everyone else should be on campus next fall or in the community.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Last call. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Bill. So we are going to. Okay, we are going to scratch, and you're good also. We're going to scratch the middle 2, so President Omar will not be presenting and Vice President Trenny will be. So I'm going to present, which will be fun. So here I have a handout for most of you guys that I'll be also be going over in my presentation. Yeah. Just need a minute. Okay. Oh, it's a mic. Awesome. So you guys already know me. I'm your speaker. It's fun. Your guys' first experience with a constitutional change, anytime the speaker is not being the speaker, the vice president takes over. So Vice President Trenny will be calling on you guys for questions. It makes you guys are asking questions. I'm basically going to go over a few things that kind of fall under what the speaker does, what I want to see at meetings, and just other things along those lines. So the first one, so as I brought up last week in my speech, this meeting is run under Robert's rules. And Robert's rules are I call them very confusing because even when you know them, you never really know them. But basically the main overview is Robert's rules is really making sure that everyone's being respectful of not only your time, but also everyone else's time. So the first thing is how to be recognized. So as I was talking about when I was calling on for questions, normally you guys would put your placard up like Gretchen did earlier. I have my little placard, it's kind of fun. So you put it up like this, and so when I look around the table and you put it up near the end of the table, I'll be able to see that you want to be on the speakers list, and I will add you to the speakers list, and then as we go through, I will call on you, and you are able to ask a question. And that goes the same for if we are having a discussion on a topic, you can also raise your placard that way. So the speakers list that I brought up is basically, I just take a list of names of anybody that would like to speak, and it's just called the speakers list. One thing that I would do, that I am going to try my hardest to do, is make sure that it's called precedence and recency. So the idea is that people who haven't spoken as much or haven't spoken as recently get to speak before someone who has spoken, let's say, right before. So since Gretchen is, for example, since Gretchen has already since Senator Biggs has already spoken twice, I would call on anybody that hasn't spoken before I would call on her again to make sure that there are new voices being brought to the table. I will still get back to her if she still has a question at the end, but I personally really like bringing up new voices and new points of views and making sure that we're all able to speak at the meeting. So that's one thing that I will be making sure to do. If I mess up a little bit, please don't get too upset with me. Another thing that's a big thing is redundancy. So when we are asking questions, a lot of times the speakers list will get a little bit long. So you might have a question and I might put you on the speakers list, but then someone might, right before you might ask the same question. So rather than asking the same question twice and spending extra time doing something that we already listened to, you can yield to redundancy. And it's fairly common. So let's say Gretchen asked the question that I want, Senator Biggs asked the question, I'm just picking on you because you have your name placard, has a question, and I was going to ask the question next, even though I can't because I'm the speaker, but if I were a senator, I would ask a question next, but she asked my question. So the speaker would call on me and say, Senator Zomer, and I would say yield to redundancy, and that would be the end of it, and we'd go to the next speaker. And the biggest part of Robert's rules is motions. So before I move into motions, are there any questions about what I went over right in this portion? This is the more straightforward portion. No? Cool. Awesome. So there's a lot of different motions that get brought up. I will be making, I gave it a nickname when I was giving the presentation. So I will be making a spreadsheet that has the motions on it, how you say the motions, and other things as such. I did not get it from my old high school debate team today, so I do not have it today because I wanted to give you guys an updated version. But at the retreat and in the fall, I will make sure that there's one in everyone's binder, and that if there are any questions, you guys always feel free to come to my office and ask me. So the first part of motions is raising your placard. So rather than just going like this, if you have a motion that needs more attention than just getting on the speakers list, you can raise it and you will say motion. So because I'm not always looking up and around, so if you say motion, it will, I will be able to hear you and kind of figure out where you are, and then I'll make sure that I recognize you. Once I recognize you, so let's say President Omar made a motion. President Omar would say motion, and then I would say President Omar, and she would say, then she would say what her motion is. So I'll go over a few motions later. So after you recognize, you say what your motion is, and then depending on the motion, there's different things that might need to go through. Some motions don't need votes, other motions need votes. So we'll go into that a little bit later. So one motion that I think is really effective but often misused is motion for a point of information. So you will do typical motion, and then when I call on you, you will say point of information. So in the most updated version of Robert's Rules, they actually now call it a request for information. I just like calling it a point of information because I think it's shorter. And it's basically asking for information from either myself, the speaker, or anyone else that had previously spoken, where you can then yield the floor if I give permission, which I normally will, unless it's really out of line, which I don't believe there would be any reason it would be. This is not a time for you to state information or state an opinion. It's not a speaking point, it is a question. So that's one thing that I want to make sure we're all staying away from. This is not a time for you to share your opinion, this is a time for you to ask a question to make sure that we're all on the same page. The next one that is used quite often is motion to move the previous question. So let's say we were in new business having a discussion about food insecurity. And you notice that the discussion was getting really redundant, there weren't many people speaking, or also if the discussion is getting really redundant and there are people on the speakers list, you can always motion to move the previous question. So moving the previous question means you will end discussion on it. So for this, it does need to go to a vote, so 2/3 of the Senate needs to approve it, to move it. So if there are people who are waiting to speak, I would recommend not motioning it, just out of courtesy, and also it will probably fail because there are people who still want to speak. But that's another very common one. One that we used quite a bit this last Senate session was motion to table the discussion to a different date. So this is So this happened when we were talking about whether or not we should pass a resolution to send the sports dome to a vote. And what we noticed is that none of us were really, one, educated enough about what was happening. Two, we wanted to have more discussion outside of the Senate because it's a little bit easier to have it outside of Robert's Rules. And we also didn't think that we were ready to cast our final vote on it. So you can table the discussion to, you could say next meeting, 2 weeks meeting, and then we would bring that motion back up then if it passes. There's the motion to extend the speakers list. I don't limit the speakers list very often unless we have multiple speakers. So if there's about 6 senator reports one day, I will say in my email on Tuesday, I'll say, okay, senator reports are limited to 5 minutes, and let's say there's 5 speaker positions for questions. So that means I'll allow 5 people to ask questions. Some of them can be two-parted, but if there are more than 5 people who want to ask questions, since I had previously limited to 5, someone will need to motion to extend the speakers list. And this can be extended indefinitely. This just needs a majority vote to pass, and then, so then once the speakers list is extended, anyone else who would like to get on the speakers list to either ask questions or have more discussion will be added until the question is moved from the second motion that's listed here. There's also a motion to limit the speakers list. This is kind of like moving the previous question, only you are allowing for a certain amount of speakers before the question is moved. So if you do limit the speakers list, right when we, so let's say we limited it to 2 more speakers, after those 2 speakers after those 2 speakers speak, the question is moved. So be very careful about using limiting the speakers list. It's a very effective tool to use if the discussion is getting very long and we have a very long meeting coming up. So such as with the budget meeting, which is long ways away, thank goodness. But when a lot of people want to talk, it's getting really redundant, but there's still some people that you think have new voices and ideas, you could limit the speakers list to a certain amount, and then it needs a second and a vote. And anytime there is a motion, I will talk you guys through what is necessary for that motion to pass, just so everyone's on the same page, because it's really confusing. And if I told you all here now, no one would remember. So a few more, a motion to amend a current motion. So let's say we are talking about a bylaw amendment and you don't agree with part of the bylaw amendment. So this happened when we were speaking about the Maverick textbook reserve. It started out as a coordinator position and then it moved to a subcommittee through an amendment that was put forth by another member of the Senate. So these amendments, I prefer to have amendments ahead of time because then we can print out copies for everyone so that everyone knows what the amendment is rather than me just reading it once and there being some miscommunication that goes on. But if there is an amendment that gets brought up that comes forth, I'll put amendment sheets in your guys' binder, so you'll write down your name, who seconded it. Most motions need seconds just for backup, so then someone else supports you, so then we vote on it. And then you write down the part that you're changing and why you're changing it. And then it gets handed to me. If the presiding officer or the speaker, myself, if I think that it changes the intention of the original motion, I can reject it. So make sure when you are amending, you aren't starting a new motion, but you're simply just tweaking what the motion really is, so then the original idea of the motion is still being carried through. And then motion for a point of order. So this is basically if I mess up really badly. So if, let's say I allow someone to move the question, and let's say you don't think that it got the vote that it was necessary, or if someone motioned and you can't motion at the end of your speaker time. So let's say that someone spoke and then said, I motion to call the question. If I were to allow that, which I typically catch on to these things, but sometimes you miss it. So I'm going to say motion, point of order, and then they'll explain what I did wrong, and then we'll just kind of start all over. I prefer if you didn't use it unless it was necessary, because it kind of makes me sad. But so moving on to voting. So for voting, like we've done multiple, have we voted before? Yeah, you guys voted for the speaker election, but normally we vote by placard vote. So for, let's say we have a bylaw amendment that we are finally voting on, you have 3 options to vote. So you can vote for the motion, you can vote against the motion, and you can abstain. Now there's some miscommunication about what abstaining means. Abstaining means that it basically means that you didn't vote at all. So in the final tally, abstentions don't get counted. So let's say there's 5 votes for the motion, 3 votes against, and then there's 5 people who abstained. It's only a 5-3 vote because abstentions it's typically used when you don't understand what you are voting for. As someone who's done Robert's Rules for a long time, and as many senators can agree, abstaining is not using the voice that you have been voted to have to make sure that your constituents are being heard. So when you are abstaining, keep that in mind that your vote does not count for or against. So you basically, your constituents' voices aren't being heard in that vote. So one thing I really want to make sure you guys know is that abstentions is not a no vote. If you want to vote no, vote no. Is there any questions about voting or motions? I forgot that I talked about a lot of motions. John?
Clarify something about the abstention too?
Yeah, what's
You did
that?
a great job of explaining it. So what it does is it actually reduces the number of people voting. Okay? So that's essentially what it does. There are 30 senators when this table is full, okay? If we have a vote of, say, let's see, 14 to 13 to 3, right? That's what that would be, okay? What we've done is we've taken that number of senators and we've actually decreased it by 3. So all we need is a majority of the 27 who voted to actually pass something. Okay, so it's reduced your total number of voters is what it's done. Okay, a lot of people don't understand that about an abstention. And that especially plays out in the student government election too. When you look at the vote counts, there are a lot of abstentions. A lot of people who abstained who probably thought they were voting no on some stuff. Okay, but that's not the case.
And one other comment about abstentions, one of the main reasons that you would abstain and why abstaining would be okay is if you have a personal conflict with it. So that doesn't normally happen with motions here. I can't name a time that people have ever needed to abstain because they had a personal conflict with what they were abstaining from. But if you are personally involved in the motion, I will, like, if you put forth a motion, I'll let you vote on it. I don't have issues with that. But I can't really think of any examples of that, but if you do think you have a personal conflict that you would not be able to cast a fair vote on something, you are able to abstain, and that is the correct way to use it. It's not a way to vote no or pretend that you weren't there. Is there any questions on abstentions or voting in general? Also for voting, when we vote, make sure you raise your placard all the way up and keep them up until I'm done counting. Sometimes I need to count twice because I'm a poli-sci major and not a math major. So the next thing I'm going into is meeting etiquette. So throughout the meeting, obviously they can't get very long. I know my presentation is probably a little boring because I didn't add any pictures. I had a micro test, I apologize. But please try to stay off your cell phones unless you are using it for something that is completely necessary. Like, for instance, I brought out my cell phone because I had to pull up an email that had the original Student Basic Needs Committee motion on it, so then Vice President Trunny could read the original motion and see the voting members. But there's no reason, we're here for almost normally like an hour to 2 hours at the absolute max. I don't really think that there is a need for you to have your cell phone out at all times. Obviously, if someone's calling you and it's like, I don't know, an important call like from work or something, you are welcome to exit the room, but if you are exiting while a discussion is going on, you might be subject to not be allowed to vote because you weren't there for the discussion. Because so if you didn't hear the discussion, you don't have a well-informed vote, so therefore, why should you get to vote? Laptops. So one of the great things about Senate meetings is that you are able to take notes on what you are listening about. So like when Bill was presenting on the Student Basic Needs Committee, and he was talking about different steps that we could go forward with, that is a great time to take down some notes. If there's a senator report that you're really interested in and you would like to work closely with that senator, make sure you're taking down some notes. If we have a dean presenting up here about something that's happening, make sure you're taking down some notes. It's really easy, although we do have meeting minutes that our office manager does because she's great, it's really important that you have your own notes so then you can write down what your opinion was on something. If you have a question you hope to ask, so you want to come back to it. Notes are great, and I understand if you do take notes on your laptop, but please refrain from doing homework during a Senate meeting. I understand that we are all very busy, we're all involved, we all have classes, we all have papers to write, but now is not your time to do homework. You can go to the library after the Senate meeting and do it there, unless you are obviously doing something for Senate, but it's kind of obvious if you're writing a paper because you don't look up. Beyond that, notes I already talked a little bit about. When I was a senator, I took notes on my agenda. I'd make bullet points off to the side. Also, when you get your binders at the start of the fall, I do believe we will still have legal pads in them. If you don't, legal pads are great. You should definitely get one. They're like $1. And make sure you have a notebook or where you take your notes only for Senate. So then all the handouts you get and everything that you need is in one spot. And also that's an easy way to keep track of what you want to do for your senator report, because you can add it to one notebook rather than having to fly around the day before your senator report and try to figure out what you're going to talk about. Is there any questions about meeting etiquette? It's basically be respectful, treat it like you're in class. Any questions? No? Awesome. Dress code. So we don't have an official dress code, and I will not be enforcing an official dress code. One thing that I would like to start doing is so President Davenport sometimes comes in and presents, and if we have the president of the university, I do think it is important that we portray ourselves like we are being presented to by the president of the university. So if we do have any special guests, like let's say we are getting a presentation from one of the president's cabinet members, or if we have a special guest coming in that's like come a long way to present for us, obviously if President Davenport's here, or if someone out of the ordinary, I would say, is coming to a Senate meeting, I will request business casual, or at least as good as you can get. But beyond that, you guys can kind of wear whatever you want to the meetings, with one exception is if you are giving a senator report. These meetings are taped. They are posted online for all of eternity, I guess, and our viewing has actually started to go up, so which I think is great because then people actually know what's happening. So if you are giving a senator report, which I'll go into a little bit later, I request that you don't need to dress business casual, but I guess dress like you're meeting the parents of your significant other. You're not going to show up in sweats, but you're also not going to show up in business casual. Dress like you wouldn't mind people seeing this on tape in a few years, if they go back a few years. Any questions on dress code? Nope. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Senator Johnson.
Yeah. Will you just put that request in the email then?
Yeah. I also tend to find out when presentations are going to be before the Tuesday that I send out the email. So if I were to find out that President Davenport's coming, like let's say we had a meeting in 2 weeks and I knew President Davenport was coming, I would send out an email once I knew for sure that he was coming to a certain meeting to remind you guys. I send out frequent emails because I understand that sometimes I get a little wordy with my emails because I really enjoy sending emails because I never got to do it before. So if you don't read it all, I will also put it in all bold. I'll highlight it if you want, whatever you want, and I'll make sure that you guys know that someone important is coming if I'm requesting a dress code. It's not going to happen very often, but since it's not going to happen very often, I hope that you guys will at least respect it. And if someone fancy is coming, we act like someone fancy is coming. Any other questions? No? Awesome. So office hours. When you guys were elected, you guys, and sworn in, you guys said that you would be able to come to, obviously student affairs or academic affairs because you are all part of that. You said you can come to Senate meetings, and you also said that you can do office hours. Office hours are a time for you to be visible for your constituents, so your constituents are able to find you if they have any issues. They can come speak with you about them. It's really important and you can also use it to work on whatever your senator project is. And it's important that you are using that time for Senate business. I understand, like, if there's not much going on or you already finished your senator report or you just met with the dean or something, you can just come hang out in the office. We always love company. Anissa and I were there all night. It was great, and we're here all day too. So if you guys wanted to start coming to the office now, you guys are more than welcome to. So you guys are required to do 6 office hours every 2 weeks. So that doesn't it's nice if you could do 3 a week, but I do understand that sometimes schedules get busy. 1 week you might not be able to do any at all, and the next week you might have to jam 6 in right before it's due. Office hours technically are due before the Wednesday meeting. So let's say this Wednesday there was office hours due. So the 2 ways that you can submit them to me, I am still updating the office hours page. I just haven't gotten around to it with finals and everything, but it will be done before the fall. I can promise you that. I will add all of you, or else you guys can request it. It's going to be called the 87th Student Government Office Hours Engage page. There is a form on there where you fill out. It asks you what dates you did office office hours, what those office hours were, and what you did during those office hours. So something that I would like to add to what counts as office hours. So office hours, obviously you could come sit in the office, but that's not a very active way to find your constituents. So if you were to email me and you said, let's say you are you live in the Performing Arts Center, you're one of the Arts and Humanities, that's the name, the Arts and Humanities Center, you can sit in the PA building and table. Granted, if you're not there and I find out, I will be sending you to Ethics and Standards because we're all adults and I think that you can handle 6 hours every 2 weeks and there's no reason to lie about it. But I really hope that you guys are going to look for more ways to get involved. Also, if you are meeting with the dean for your senator report, or you are meeting with the director of whatever to help you get through, to help you with your project, you can also count that as office hours. There's also specific office hours for certain positions, such as Res Life, you can present at RHA, that's for an hour, but most of the colleges and off-campus is kind of, there's no outline for what you specifically need to do. I'll be sending out more. We're also hoping to do more tabling next year down in the CSU. I don't know if you guys saw the big box in the office that has the chalkboard. We are hoping to do that more often, so if you table at that, you are able to use it. But if you are tabling for a different organization, that can't count as office hours because you're not tabling as a senator, you're tabling as a part of a different group, if that makes sense. So you need to do 6 every 2 weeks. They are due to me, although they're technically due on the Wednesday. I will allow you guys to turn them in to me until noon on Thursday because I know I always forgot to turn them in before the meeting. So I will make sure in my email, I will say office hours are either due next week or office hours are due this week. Get them to me as soon as you are done with your 6. And you can also turn them in as you go. But beyond the Engage page, there are also paper sheets that you can fill out. So if you're in the office doing them and you just want to fill out a paper sheet, I'm either going to put them on my door or in my mailbox, and then you guys, my door is always unlocked, so you can just set it on my desk, because otherwise it gets really hot in my office. So you can just set it on my desk, in my mailbox, whatever you want to do with it, just make sure it gets to me. And then if I were to reach out to you and say, hey, you were short a few hours, or hey, I didn't see your office hours, and you said, oh, I put it on your desk, just fill out another form for me. It probably got lost somewhere. Are there any questions about office hours? I'll be sending out a little bit more information on what I will allow as office hours. I'm trying to look into ways that you guys can reach out to all of your constituents, but I need to pass that by a few people before I'm allowed to say if you guys can do it or not. So there will be more coming with office hours. I really hope to expand it, not to just sitting in the office, but also working with people. But always you can come to the office because we like to hang out and I need friends. Any questions for office hours? Office hours?
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the consequences if you don't get this done?
So there's this commission called the Commission of Ethics and Standards. So what will happen is if you, if you were to not turn in your 6 hours to me, once we appoint a chair of Ethics and Standards, I hope to work more closely with them to see what they are expecting, because I will appoint you to Ethics and Standards. So on the agenda, you guys see appointments, which are mostly empty right now. Ethics and Standards is on there, so if you need to go to an Ethics and Standards meeting, I will be reaching out to you, informing you that I am sending you there, and then also the chair of Ethics and Standards will reach out, and then there's 4 non-senators on Ethics and Standards, and we are working with them. We are working with what's going to happen with Ethics and Standards currently. What punishments could be typical punishments, I guess, or sanctions. So let's say you were to miss, you didn't turn in your 6 office hours to me. Normally, if you don't turn them in by Thursday to me, I'll email you and say, hey, did you forget? But if you don't send them to me at all, or you didn't do any, I will be appointing you to Ethics and Standards because I believe that's only fair because you're not doing your job. And if I wasn't going to my office hours, I think the speaker gets sent to Ethics and Standards, but that's just how it works. So it's really important that you guys are doing it. You can also, if you are missing too many committee meetings, you can be appointed to Ethics and Standards. If you miss too many Senate meetings, you can get appointed to Ethics and Standards. And Ethics and Standards is able to petition to the Senate Senate to remove senators as well as exec members. So if there's anyone not doing their job, they are able to send a petition to the Senate, and then we vote on 2/3 if they want to get removed or not. So if you don't want to be standing in front of the Senate, wondering if you're going to have your seat the next day, I'd recommend that you just do your 6 office hours. 3 hours a week isn't too much to ask from anyone, I don't believe. I'm sure we all have 3 hours that we could spare at some point. I understand that we are all busy, but you did sign up for this position and you ran for it, and this is what you get. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? No? Cool. Senator reports. Oh, I already flipped it. So Senator reports are also on the agenda. I will be passing out a sign-up sheet during the fall meeting. I don't feel like there's any need to pass it out right now because we are going off on summer break and you guys might forget, and I'll probably forget and lose it. But I will be I will be passing around a sheet that has you sign up. There's going to be a certain amount of Senate reports I allow for a day. Obviously, if people start moving around, I prefer if you didn't move around, if you committed to a date, you knew you were going to have to give a Senate report, so you should have something to report on. The only reason that I would be okay moving you is if, let's say you had a meeting with your dean and the dean was like, hey, I can't meet this week, can we meet next week? And you were like, I was going to report on what we talked about with the dean, then I would allow you to move it back a week. But other than that, I would hope that you guys keep them ahead of time. So you have to get 2 Senate reports a semester. I said minimum because if you are working on a project and let's say right before you had already given your 2 Senate reports, and right before the end of the semester something really big happens with what you're working on, or if you need a lot of help, or if it's finally getting into motion, I would love to hear about that. And I don't think that it's a waste of anyone's time to have a 3rd Senator report if it's something important to be reported on, if that makes sense. What is expected? I passed around a sheet that was done by the 85th student government speaker. So it just kind of gives you a rundown of Senator reports. With Senator reports, you need to make sure that you're reporting on things that you're working on specifically for the Senate and for your constituents. So let's say you are doing, I can't even think of anything, but let's say you are going to an event or you're helping like one of your teachers host something. If you're not trying to reach out to students or you're not trying to work on a project and you're reporting on that and it has nothing to do with Senate, I don't count that as a Senator report, and you will have to do it again another time. They are Senator reports for a reason, so make sure you are working for your constituency. Beyond that, I will require 2 weeks minimum in between. Last year, we had some people that would go like either back-to-back weeks, and which isn't fine because we already heard you last week and there's not that much that could have happened in a week. So I will be making sure that there's 2 weeks in between, so then you at least have some time to make improvements on your project. So when you next report, and obviously it's better if you have a little bit more time if your project is really big. As you guys go into summer thinking about what you guys want your projects as senators to be and what issues you see and what you want to fix. I will be doing 2 weeks minimum in between, and then that sheet's passed around. If you have any other questions about Senator reports, please let me know. They're really easy. It says 2 to 5 minutes on the sheet. I won't limit your speaker time unless we have a large amount of Senator reports, because if you have enough content that's good content to fill more than 5 minutes, I'd love to hear about it. And I'm sure everyone else would. And question lists won't be limited, as I stated earlier, unless there's too many people that I think the meeting would run way past 6 o'clock. Are there any questions on Senator reports? No? Awesome. Well, if you guys have any questions about what's expected of you as a senator, what you need to do for office hours, what's required in your job, please let me know. I'll be in my office for the rest of this week, but I am leaving campus on Tuesday of next week, so I won't be around later next week, but you are always welcome to email me because I like receiving emails. So thank you guys. Are done. Do we have anyone here for open forum? We have a small audience today. Open forum. Open forum. Seeing none, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there any dissent to approving the consent agenda? Or is there any questions about what we're doing with the consent agenda? It's just approving the agenda. Is there no dissent? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. We will now move into officer reports. President Omar.
Hello, everybody. I'll begin with our meet and confer appointment that we have tomorrow. The following senators have signed up. It'll be Thursday, May 2nd, which is tomorrow, from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. and it'll be in CSU 203. So far, I have Janet Soma signed up, Olivia Schmidt, Arnaby Maltar, sorry. You won't be able to attend? Perfect. Agula Cook and Tone Shapondi. And I'll also send a reminder tomorrow morning. And then my second thing was I'll be passing around a contact list for our academic senators as well as our student life senators. For academic senators, I have emailed all your deans and I CC'd all of you guys in it so you guys know who your needs are. I will be a contact if you guys have any issues. They should be your first point of contact when you are trying to work on issues within your college. I'll start passing this around going this way, and then for student life, I have some Res Life contacts and other places, even though like yours is way more, I tried narrowing it down as much as I could. If I missed somebody, I'm sorry. The second thing that I'll be talking about is our Camp Patterson. I have sent you guys all an email to RSVP for our retreat. It will be August 18th through the 19th. It is a Monday and Tuesday. For our CAs, Amber will be writing you an email requesting that you be excused. The bus will be leaving at 10 a.m. So far, I've only had 2 senators contact me, Alexander Prom, Paige Johnson. This is a mandatory retreat. You guys have 4 months to kind of work around your schedule and get everything worked out, so I do expect everybody to be there. And I do need all your RSVPs by August 1st. That will account for all the food that we will need. I will also be passing around the sheet, so you guys don't have to email me if you guys know right now. So you guys want to go ahead and sign up. So that'll be going around. The second thing is, who's all going to be here during the summer? Perfect. I have an orientation sign-up sheet for all. Nope, the hands, why are they going down so fast? I have an orientation sign-up sheet. All you guys need is your name and your number, and I did account for everybody that did raise their hand, so I will email you guys separately if you guys forget to sign. So here you guys go. I'll also be passing this around. The second thing is, I put this in our.
Oh, we'll wait till the end for questions.
It's just about the dates. It's the 19th and the 20th, not the 18th and the 19th. Yep.
Okay,
That's the Monday and the Tuesday.
But is it Monday and Tuesday?
Yeah, 19th and the 20th.
So it says the 18th on the sign-up sheet, but it's the 19th and the 20th. And then we also have students events team coming with us, interfraternity council. We also have some sorority people, and it's going to be student government. It's going to be an amazing bonding experience. We'll learn more about student government, how the inner workings. We'll be able to get to know each other more. It's going to be an amazing trip, so see you all there. Another thing is Students United has opened up their applications. I sent that all to you guys in an email this week. They are hiring for their campus coordinator, their equity and inclusion specialist. They're hiring an objective specialist, legislative specialist, and a public relations specialist. Those applications are now online at studentsunited.org, or they're in the email attachment that I sent this week. And right now I'm kind of working on the presidential list. That's why I didn't present today, because there's a little bit of tweaking that I have to do. I'm hoping to email you guys all, but within the next week, about an updated list of different committees that there are, so you guys can go ahead and sign up. And so I think that's about it. And I just want to say a little happy birthday to our College of Business Senator, Tone Shapondi. It's her birthday. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question just to clarify. As long as the moving day is August 22nd, do you think the resident senator, they will be able to join the retreat because it's before moving day?
Yeah, we talked about it. That's, we will be sending an email. We're just going to request that they do be excused. We can't really tell them that they have to be excused, but we're requesting that they do let our CAs go for that 2 days, for those 2 days.
Senator Prom?
Just a point of information, is our orientation peer assistants allowed to do the orientation student government presentation?
Oh yeah, you guys will be there. You guys can come help me. I'm gonna be there for every orientation because I'll be in town. But you guys, I would like if you guys would help me with the presentation.
Wonderful, thank you.
And tabling too, does it?
Senator Schmidt?
Will you be sitting at the email closer to the retreat time?
Yes. But I'll send something close to the end of July, reminding you guys to RSVP by August 1st. That's what we're doing.
John?
If I may just offer a quick correction, you stated the date for the 19th. It's actually 19th to 20th, that Monday into Tuesday. Oh, there, okay, got it. Sorry, I was probably jotting that down on my notes here. The other thing, regarding the meet and confer, how meet and confer typically works is lunch is provided. They strategically scheduled this one for student government around lunchtime, so the president's office picks up the tab for pretty darn nice lunch usually. So they plan for 7 students to be there, so if you know you're going to have a vacancy, if there aren't enough you can't make it, and there's somebody else who can, it would be good to go and fill that. So.
I've already had some on the wait list.
Are there any other?
It's always a good surprise for whatever for lunch.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Any questions? Awesome. Vice President Trenny.
I don't have a whole lot. So last Thursday, President Omar and I attended the City and University Committee meeting, which is just Bethany, South Central, North Mankato City Council, Mankato Councilman, and someone from Greater Mankato Growth come and attend. It's at a different university every month. This month it was at here. And there's some of the updates we got were provided to us that are some projects happening over the summer is that the Warren Street project, wherever Warren, I think they're adding a new they're expanding the sidewalk on Warren Street, and that will be they'll start on May 10th after classes get let out. The stadium road construction, so right by the military barracks, the National Guard barracks, they're going to put a roundabout in. That will begin late May and will be finished by early August, so stay tuned for that. And Hy-Vee will be going in across from Jake Stadium, kind of behind Summit and Jacob Height, or Summit, and kind of near Stadium Heights. Yes, and that's all we were provided. Again, it'll be different places every month, and I will be attending those. So, yes.
Are there any questions? Any questions?
And if you do have questions about anything I just said, you can come up to me after. I can explain it again.
Are there any questions for now?
Yeah.
Seeing none. Awesome. So for my officer report, I kind of gave you guys a rundown. If you have any questions, please let me know. I understand that it can be a little confusing coming in as a fresh senator because I was last year. So if you do have any questions about anything, please let me know and I will try to help to the best of my ability. With that being said, when I brought up senator reports, a really good way to make sure that you have very good senator reports first semester and second semester is to start thinking about projects and working on them over the summer. So if you guys have any questions about, we're still working on getting transition reports from some of the senators from the 86th Senate, but we do have some in, so if you are looking for different things that they worked on and things that you might want to continue, they are a great resource to look at. They have a start, stop, continue list, so if they tried something and it's going to go nowhere, there's no reason for you to try as well, and it says that in their transition report. It also gives some ideas for future projects, and if you guys have any ideas for future projects, it'd be great to reach out to any of us, or even your fellow senators if you think that they would be interested in working with you or working on the same project. So that's one thing to think about with this being the last meeting is your term has already started. It's time to start doing your work. With that is the end of my officer report. Do you guys have any questions for me? Any questions? Questions? Okay. We have no senator reports, and I explained that earlier. Old business, as I brought up last week, old business is any time that there was a motion that followed into the next week. So, but also, as I brought up, if we were to table a motion, it would then be put in old business rather than new business, if that makes sense. Are there any questions about old business? No. New business, once again, I know we went more in depth last week about how we would like to start being able to motion to open discussion on different topics. I'll be looking a little bit more into that to make sure that we aren't overstepping Senate meeting boundaries into committee time boundaries, because committees are are a great space to talk about issues a little bit more freely than with Robert's rules and having a speakers list and having all these different requirements you need to go through. But other than that, anything that is new that we will be either voting on or discussing will be under new business. Is there any questions about what will go on in new business? Any questions? Any questions? No. With that, we do have multiple vacancy elections. Make sure you are reaching out to people that you know that might be interested or might know people that are interested. The applications are already online. Also, make sure you're telling people about committees. We need more than just senators on committees. We need a lot. How many people do you need to appoint, President Omar? A few hundred. So make sure that if you have anyone that's interested or wants to get involved in Senate is really applying online, and they can do that until the day before the vacancy elections. You guys can read them there, but I'll announce them real quick. It's the College of Allied Health and Nursing Senator, College of Education Senator, College of Social Behavioral Sciences Senator, Graduate Studies Senator, both of them, and one Res Life Senator. Is there any questions about vacancy elections? Awesome. So now we'll move into announcements. Are there any announcements?
So with the vacancies, I've already contacted all the deans of the colleges that are currently vacant, and they have gotten back to me, and they are currently looking for somebody. But if you guys know of anybody that is in that college, then I'd encourage them to apply. A second thing is, have you guys seen the sign-up sheet? Oh, that one's full. The little other orientation. The sign-up sheet for orientation. That's what I was looking for. Have a great summer, everybody. See you guys at the retreat and at tabling orientation. But thank you guys so much.
John?
Thanks, Madam Speaker. I have two things. One is that I'm going to talk about the annual late night final week breakfast on Monday night, taking place starting at 10 o'clock in the Mav area of CSU. There will be schlepping waffles or pancakes or something. Who knows what yet right now. So, but that'll be a free breakfast. Bring people over. We usually have about 400 to 500 people go through the line. So come on over and get a free late night meal. The other thing I'm going to mention, I'm going to do this kind of without him knowing it, on behalf of Torrin Akey and Bryce Matthews, because this is pertaining to Res Life Move Crew. Res Hall Move-In Day is on Thursday, August 22nd, and typically Torrin Akey will come to this meeting and mention to student government about the opportunity to participate in Move Crew and help the new students move onto campus. But Torrin's on sabbatical right now, and Bryce, the person who's filling in, wasn't quite aware how much recruiting Torrin went out and did. So Bryce actually came to our All Creek meeting last night and talked to fraternity sorority life members about putting together groups for Move Crew. And so what there is an opportunity to do is to put groups together. If you aren't already helping with a group, or you aren't a CA and doing something else with move-ins, student government, it would be well served to have a group helping with Move Crew. There are two shifts available on that day. One is from 7:45 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. The other is from 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. From personal experience, I'll tell you, although it's early, the early one's better because it's usually cooler. And so it can be nasty in that warm afternoon. What you do is, I'm going to give this to the executives, but they need to know how many people are going to participate and the t-shirt sizes that you would need if you are going to be able to participate in Res Hall Move-In, because they have to obviously pre-order those t-shirts. If you have 10 or more people participating, the Res Life will give away 2 prizes of $100 to groups of 10 or larger to help them with programming or stuff like that. If the group is 5 or larger, they're going to give away 5 prizes of $75 for groups that go above and beyond and are well represented at the event. So you'd be able to rep student government stuff, but they need to know if you're going to be interested in participating by the end of June. So I'm going to give this to your executives if you're interested. They might actually like you to sign up now, since you're all not going to be meeting again. But they'll need your name and t-shirt size if you're going to be interested in participating in Move Crew.
We'll pass this around. Also, we will make sure to put this on the bulletin board. A lot of times if we have events that are coming up around campus, we put them on the bulletin board in the office. So if you guys ever have events that you want us to put up on the bulletin board, let us know and give us the poster.
To Today we were supposed to have Mall Fest out on the outside on the mall, but we had some not as great weather. So tomorrow, Student Union Board will be sponsoring free hot dogs, pop, and chips. We're up to 750 students, so if you're around from 11:30 to whenever you run out, come and help yourself. They also will have a petting zoo outside. It's always something we like to have at the end of the year to get into exams and all those things for a little break. So the petting zoo will be from 11 to 2 o'clock. And then student events team also sponsors 1,000 Ways to Win. They have a ball drop, ping pong balls, and have a lot of great prizes for people too. And they start there at 12 o'clock. So from 11 to 2, the total thing, food at 11:30, ping pong ball drop at noon. So a couple things going on there. And then just to add on what John had mentioned about the late night breakfast, we also have two other things I'd like to mention. We have always massages during Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 10-minute free massages that we do as part of the student union. They'll be down this hall in usually room 201, 202. Sign on the door, sign up for 10 minutes on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They start typically around 9 o'clock, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. So partake in that if you're interested. And also we'll have our pet therapy on Monday as well, from 11 to 1 down at Mav Ave, and then just before the late night breakfast too, from 6:30 to 8 o'clock as well, to come and chill a little bit with some dogs as you get in the heat of your exams. Any questions for me?
Any questions?
Good luck on exams.
Thank you. Awesome. Vice President Trenny.
I don't know if anyone filled it out, but there was a kind of an esports survey. I know Todd's here. An esports survey was given out, and if you replied, there's a meeting tomorrow in the bullpen at 6 o'clock to talk more about esports. If anyone's interested, I know I'm going and Senator Dickey's going. So if you're interested, please come and let me know. I think it's going to be really cool, and yeah.
Do you have any, Todd?
And after that little meeting at 7:30, there's going to be an esports tournament. Match Brothers Protected. So it's just an enter on site. If you want to play, just enter down there. So it's put on by the Match Brothers Club. So that's all tomorrow night.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Thank you. Are there any other announcements? Are there any other announcements? Any other announcements? No? Okay, so we will go into roll call. Once again, I apologize if I butcher any names. I promise I will get better in the fall, but it might take me some time because I'll probably forget over summer. Senator Bates.
Present.
Senator Calderon-Pitchford.
Here.
Senator Schmidt. Here. Senator Johnson. Here. Senator Mohammed. Senator Shikombi. Here. Senator Predon.
Here.
Senator Batarai. Sorry, it's not on the sheet. It's only your first name. Senator Patel.
Yeah.
Senator Schumacher.
Here.
Senator Maltari.
Here.
Senator Sajal.
Here.
Galley.
Here.
Oh my gosh.
I like that.
Weinzierl.
Here.
Senator Soma. Here. Senator Bana. Here. Senator Bashal. Here. Senator Akut. Here. Senator Nellis. Here. Senator Karki. Roxy. Senator Prom.
Here.
Senator Hoyseth. Senator Bessler.
Here.
Senator Dickey.
Here.
President Omar. Here. And Vice President Trenny.
Here.
Awesome. So this meeting is adjourned. Please remember to work